They noticed the signal on an otherwise uneventful sweep through the outer spirals. A burst of quantum radiation, sloppy, unrefined, barely stabilized. Primitive. At first, the Imperial surveyors logged it for curiosity's sake. Another backwater system throwing sparks into the void, trying to matter. Then came the trajectory readings. The anomaly was no fluke. Someone had just completed a crude, unsanctioned jump across the local gravity while using technology that barely qualified as functional. That's when the Galactic Empire took notice. The report filtered up through layers of bureaucratic indifference until it reached a regional overseer who flagged it as potential compliance priority. A new species. Technologically adolescent, socially fragmented, and by all projections, harmless. The database called them humans. Native to a blue and green planet called Earth. Population unstable. Culture volatile. Status unaware of the greater galactic order. Standard protocol dictated observation, containment, and eventual integration. But the Empire had grown bored with protocol. For centuries, they had absorbed planets without resistance. Cultures bent the knee or disappeared. This one? It would be amusing. A low-risk operation. Good for morale. Show the recruits what dominance looks like. Let them witness the old pattern play out: arrival, intimidation, obedience. A detachment fleet was assembled. Nothing too heavy. 4 war cruisers, a carrier-class diplomatic vessel, and a handful of AI-guided compliance drones. It was considered overkill. The fleet's captain, a veteran of 3 planetary peace initiatives, joked to his adjutant that he hoped the humans had at least invented chairs. The fleet entered Sol space unnoticed. Human radar didn't even blink. The ships hung in orbit above Earth, invisible to the planet's rudimentary detection systems. A formal broadcast was sent down in every major Earth language: an introduction, a declaration of galactic authority, a polite demand for unconditional surrender. Standard procedure. Transmit. Wait. Land. Except, nothing happened. No panic. No frantic response. No reverence. No mobilization. Instead, their hail was answered by static, then by what the language filters reluctantly identified as a human voice imitating flatulence. The signal cut out, replaced by bursts of distorted audio, snippets of music, laughter, nonsense phrases, then silence. Confusion crept in. Was it interference? A hack? A species-level malfunction? A second message was broadcast, this time louder, sharper, encrypted at the Empire's highest transmission grade. Once again, humans intercepted it. This time, they sent back a grainy video of someone holding a cardboard sign reading, "Try again, space nerds." This wasn't resistance. This wasn't even defiance. This was irreverence. The diplomatic vessel made descent preparations, certain that terrestrial governments would come running once they saw the fleet's presence. Instead, their landing site, a vast desert marked for contact, was swarmed by vehicles with flashing lights and inflatable aliens taped to the roofs. Humans in costumes waved glow sticks and blasted music, turning first contact into a carnival. Soldiers didn't arrive. Tourists did. Empire analysts scrambled to interpret the behavior. Initial assessments labeled humans culturally incoherent, psychologically erratic, and delusionally fearless. Theories emerged. Was this performance? A defense mechanism? A decentralized psychological warfare? When a scout drone approached a military base to measure human planetary defenses, it was blinded by reflective surfaces arranged to form a massive smiley face on the runway. Then a radio transmission pinged the fleet directly. "Come hang out, we've got snacks." The fleet commander ordered a containment operation. Drones would sweep through key communication hubs, shut down military infrastructure, and establish a perimeter. Within minutes, several drones malfunctioned mid-air. Human hackers, untrained, unlicensed, and seemingly undeterred by alien tech, had cracked the drones' operating systems and redirected them to deliver pizza. This was not war. This was not peace. This was something else entirely. The Empire's upper command took notice. A species resisting not through violence or diplomacy, but mockery. Earth had no planetary defense grid, no interstellar arsenal, no shields, but it had turned the Empire's doctrine into a joke. A preliminary psychological report labeled the species unstable, potentially subversive. Another called them existentially incompatible with hierarchy. A third simply wrote, "They're laughing at us." Earth's global communication networks showed no signs of centralized leadership, but every nation, every group, every human that became aware of the Empire responded with memes, pranks, sarcasm, or eerie calm. As if they had been expecting this. As if aliens were just another item on their long list of absurdities. The fleet debated escalation. Bombardment would be easy. The planet was fragile. But something gave them pause. A hesitation seated not in threat analysis, but in discomfort. Fear, even. Not of loss, but of becoming the punchline of a story told across galaxies. Of being the villains in a comedy. The final line of the day's report summed it up. They do not understand what we are. Worse, they do not care. The Empire dispatched linguists, war psychologists, and AI-driven socio-cultural interpreters to decode human behavior. Every model broke down within hours. Slang triggered false syntax trees. Sarcasm appeared indistinguishable from sincerity. Humor short-circuited tone detection protocols. The most advanced xenopsychology module concluded. Subject species exhibits language structures optimized for miscommunication. Further engagement proved worse. When an Empire official attempted a formal greeting via audio transmission, humans spliced his voice into a remix and released it as a viral song titled Asterisk. Space Bureaucrat Rave. Asterisk. The remix topped their charts within 48 hours. The original message's content was entirely forgotten. Memes spread faster than any counter-narrative the Empire could issue. Propaganda failed before it was conceived. Public response wasn't panic, it was entertainment. Internet forums debated whether the Empire was real or part of an elaborate marketing campaign. Skeptics claimed it was AI-generated content. Conspiracy theorists hijacked the conversation, claiming the ships were deep-fake projections orchestrated by rival governments. Late-night comedians turned the invasion into a running joke. A popular vlogger posted a video titled, "I gave the aliens a sandwich and they left," which received 40 million views. The Empire tried intimidation. A ship hovered over New York and activated its subsonic broadcaster. Humans heard the sound, paused, and began dancing. Vibe check passed. Someone wrote on social media. Crowds gathered. No one fled. A DJ remixed the frequency into a techno loop. What was meant as terror became a party. Fleet Command demanded ground presence. The first diplomatic pod landed near a major metropolitan hub, flanked by enforcement drones. Before the hatch opened, humans had already surrounded it, live streaming, chanting slogans, and offering snacks. Some wore tinfoil hats. Others held signs, asterisk. "I, for one, welcome our lizard overlords." Asterisk. The pod's external sensors registered no threat, just noise, lights, laughter. One drone was sticker bombed before it could take off. Alien representatives emerged and attempted to deliver a speech. Microphones were shoved in their faces. One news anchor asked if they believed pineapple belonged on pizza. Another offered them a fidget spinner. A child asked if they had seen Shrek. The speech was cut short due to crowd interference and an incident involving a rubber chicken. Back in orbit, fleet personnel tried to reframe the situation. They initiated focused messaging via major broadcasting frequencies. Within minutes, hackers took over the signal and aired a dubbed version of the Empire's warning, replacing every noun with the word banana. Viewership tripled. Response: uncontrollable laughter. Humans were not resisting through violence or submission. They were smothering every engagement attempt in absurdity. Nothing stuck. No threat survived the filter of ridicule. No narrative maintained control once exposed to their culture. They weaponized irreverence. Empire strategists proposed isolation. Quarantine Earth, suppress all outgoing signals. But human media was already off-world. Civilizations on the fringes of the Empire were downloading Earth broadcasts, fascinated by the chaos. A single episode of Galactic Invasion Prank Show was watched by over 30 billion sentient beings across 5 sectors. Humanity had become famous for not taking the Empire seriously. Operational morale began to erode. Troops complained of confusion, inability to maintain discipline, cognitive fatigue. Pilots looped intercepted human audio out of morbid curiosity. One flagship's crew was caught watching a human animated series during active duty. When questioned, they responded, "It helps us understand the enemy." They had begun laughing too. Meanwhile, humans were adapting. Engineers reverse-engineered pieces of alien equipment using scrap, duct tape, and off-the-shelf processors. A group of mechanics turned a captured drone into a rideable hoverboard. Students at a university converted an Empire signal array into a planetary meme projector. One hacker breached a fleet ship's entertainment system and uploaded an entire season of The Office. It autoplays when idle. These weren't coordinated efforts. No central government led the response. No planet-wide military strategy existed. Just billions of independent minds experimenting, reacting, creating. Every attempt to impose order collapsed under the sheer weight of improvisation. The Empire labeled the species tactically decentralized. In reality, they were culturally untouchable. Every interaction turned into content. Every demand became a joke. Fear was impossible to enforce. Respect could not be extracted. An advisor to the Imperial Council submitted a confidential warning. Humanity is incompatible with occupation. They possess no universal truth, no central dogma, no shared psychological lever. They refuse to take us seriously. That makes them uniquely dangerous. The only consistent behavior among humans was their refusal to react predictably. Their response to imperial power was to make it look foolish. They weren't fighting the Empire, they were laughing it out of relevance. The Empire escalated. Their analysts labeled the situation as asymmetric psychological resistance and called for military intervention. A combat fleet was authorized, 70 ships, elite crews, precision weapons. It was no longer a diplomatic effort. Earth would be made an example. The Empire wanted submission. Humanity gave them improvisation. Human ships emerged from nowhere, patched together vessels made from cargo hulls, mining rigs, retrofitted space station modules, and aerospace junk. No standard designs, no shared configuration. Some looked barely flight-worthy. They flew crooked. Parts were welded on unevenly. Antennae pointed in random directions. Several had graffiti painted across their sides. The Empire's targeting systems flagged them as civilian refuse. Then they opened fire. The first shots were unexpected. Not because they were powerful, but because they were precise. Asteroids nudged into orbit days before were suddenly redirected with kinetic boosters and aimed like guided missiles. One battlecruiser took a direct hit to its primary engine core. It spiraled into its own escorts, taking out 3. No energy signature, no warning. Just physics, applied with reckless creativity. Human weaponry wasn't elegant. It was brutal. Jury-rigged plasma lances, directional microwave bursts, rail cannons built from scrap, guided drones armed with explosives and blasting ancient rock music on open channels. The chaos was by design. The randomness made it impossible for the Empire's predictive algorithms to calculate patterns. Tactics made no sense. Some ships drifted silently, mimicking debris, then came to life with flares and flanking fire. Others charged headlong, overloaded their reactors, and detonated at close range. Even when ships were lost, the losses didn't slow the attack, they made it more unpredictable. Command channels filled with urgent queries. What fleet designation is this? Why are their ships untagged? How are they coordinating without signal structure? The answer came slowly. They weren't coordinated. They didn't need to be. Every human ship was captained by someone with initiative, not protocol. Some were veterans. Some were civilians. Some were enthusiasts turned warriors. None cared about hierarchy. They made decisions in real time, acted without permission, and succeeded because of it. Empire formations broke. Discipline collapsed under disarray. Crews trained for structured warfare panicked when logic failed. One squadron reported being ambushed by a floating junk sculpture that turned out to be a decoy hiding multiple drones. On the surface, Earth remained unfazed. News anchors covered the battle like a sports event. Social media tallied alien ship kills like high scores. Memes flooded the network before the fighting ended. Pilots live-streamed their dogfights. One crew duct-taped a camera to their missile and uploaded the footage before impact. Losses were sustained. Humans didn't come out unscathed. But the damage was never in vain. Each destroyed ship taught the rest something new. Tech was salvaged mid-battle, weaknesses exploited immediately. Within hours, new counters were devised and deployed. No need for approval. No delay. One Empire admiral tried to initiate a full retreat. His command was overridden by his own subordinates, who believed retreat from a primitive species would dishonor the fleet. Moments later, his ship was hit by a guided asteroid coated in reflective foil and carrying a speaker that blasted. Highway to hell. The impact shattered the bridge. Survivors were left floating, broadcasting distress signals. Human ships retrieved them, then left them adrift again, only after tagging their hulls with stickers that read, asterisk. I fought Earth and all I got was this damage report. Asterisk. The battle was over in 3 hours. Empire losses, catastrophic. Human losses, severe, but irrelevant. No monument would be built. No medals awarded. The pilots who survived went home, fixed their ships, posted tutorials online. Others were already building better weapons with recovered tech. The Empire's internal report classified the battle as an anomaly. But data told the truth. A non-unified, barely interstellar species had dismantled one of the most advanced fleets in the galaxy using junk, humor, and physics. They didn't fight fair. They didn't fight smart by traditional standards. But they fought like it mattered, and they didn't stop. Empire Command called for containment. Silence Earth. Limit exposure. But the damage was done. The galaxy had seen it. Fear didn't work. Force didn't work. Logic didn't work. Earth had joined the game. Not by playing the same rules, but by flipping the board and making everyone watch. The Empire initiated a full-spectrum adaptation protocol. New departments formed overnight, staffed with linguists, behavior analysts, meme specialists, and unconventional warfare experts. Dozens of AI were assigned to one objective: understand and predict human actions. The result was confusion. The models conflicted. Every attempt to establish behavioral consistency collapsed under cultural contradiction. Empathy simulations failed to sync with human decision-making. Algorithms flagged their behavior as deliberately erratic. Direct observation didn't help. Humans didn't coordinate traditionally. They didn't respond to central authority. Leaders were temporary, informal, often self-appointed. 1 minute they followed a general, the next they followed a pizza delivery guy with a good idea. Hierarchies were fluid. The line between civilian and combatant didn't exist. A gardener could launch a drone swarm. A mechanic could repurpose alien scrap into battlefield tech in their garage. Everyone was involved, and no one waited for permission. Empire resources were hemorrhaging. Engagements were dragging out longer, not due to resistance, but because humans refused to commit to a predictable pattern. A coordinated ambush turned into a parade. A trap baited with power readings turned out to be a decoy powered by batteries from children's toys. An entire strike team was neutralized when their suits were hacked to play nursery rhymes during stealth ops. Attempts to isolate Earth failed. Their communication was viral. Even under total electromagnetic lockdown, humans used balloons, satellites, reflected sunlight, and encoded music files to transmit data. Pirates in orbital skiffs dropped flash drives onto Empire ships with instructions, *. Plug me in, coward! *. Some did. The virus inside didn't destroy systems, it replaced tactical briefings with cat videos and instructions for homemade laser cutters. As frustration deepened, Command proposed escalation. Deploy dreadnoughts. Launch targeted strikes on infrastructure. Break morale. But Earth had none of the dependencies the Empire expected. Their networks were redundant. Power grids decentralized. Militaries fractured by design. One facility destroyed only resulted in 5 more springing up. They didn't centralize. They multiplied. Their greatest strength was speed. Empire decisions required approvals, projections, simulations. Human responses came in hours, sometimes minutes. A weapon system deployed one day was countered the next, not by military R/&D, but by a teenager in a basement with a 3D printer and questionable safety protocols. Updates spread like wildfire, not through chain of command, but through forums, torrents, and open-source blueprints. Humans began modifying Empire tech faster than the Empire could replace it. Plasma rifles were hacked for overclocked discharges. Stealth cloaks were repurposed for urban camo. Shield harmonics were reversed to create feedback loops. One engineer turned an alien power core into a coffee machine that powered a particle cannon. The culture of reverse engineering became its own war front. Captured tech became trophies, then tools, then art. Engineers competed for who could build the most absurdly effective weapons using the least number of parts. One submission used parts of a dishwasher and took down an entire gunship. Propaganda failed. The Empire released a series of controlled messages portraying humans as dangerous, unstable, and hostile. Humans shared them with pride. The clips went viral, complete with reaction videos and remixes. One viral edit ended with the tagline, asterisk, "Damn right we're unstable. Now watch this flip." Asterisk. Public perception in other galactic systems began to shift. Non-aligned species, long subdued by the Empire, started watching Earth closely. Smugglers, outcasts, and fringe thinkers began feeding intelligence to humanity, not for alliances, but because they wanted to see what would happen. Curiosity turned into admiration. Resistance movements cited Earth in manifestos. In the shadows of galactic trade hubs, people whispered, "They fought the Empire with memes, and won." Some Imperial officers began questioning their own orders. Morale dropped. One squad surrendered preemptively, leaving a note that read, asterisk, "We're not trained for this kind of madness." Asterisk. Others deserted. Fear wasn't keeping them in line anymore, embarrassment was driving them away. Earth never demanded territory. No annexation, no dominion. They didn't even care to negotiate. They just kept interfering, hacking, sabotaging, and broadcasting. Their message was always the same: you're not in control anymore. The Empire's leadership convened emergency meetings. No strategy seemed to hold. No timeline made sense. Suppressing humans required understanding them, and understanding them meant accepting a universe where logic wasn't always logical, and control wasn't always power. For the first time in millennia, the Empire didn't feel dominant. It felt old, slow, predictable, and humanity wasn't slowing down. The Empire mobilized its final option, a full siege. Hundreds of ships, supercarriers, precision bombardment systems, deep core suppressors, and elite ground forces converged above Earth. It wasn't a battle plan, it was an ultimatum. They would smother the planet before it inspired another act of defiance. The order was absolute: overwhelm, dismantle, silence. Earth responded within minutes. The first wave didn't come from ships. It came from satellites blinking offline, then pulsing with bright lights in perfect sync. Patterns formed across orbit, flashing sequences, mirrored signals. At first, Empire sensors logged them as misfires. Then they registered the real purpose: targeting disruption. Human engineers had turned the sky into a blinding disco ball. Optics failed. Laser guidance scattered. Precision collapsed. While larger ships recalibrated, smaller human vessels drifted into position unnoticed. Their heat signatures masked by recycled reactor flares, their shapes camouflaged against orbital debris. At point-blank range, they struck, not with firepower alone, but with hacked logic systems, brute force jamming, and old-school kinetic impacts. Several carriers fell without a single plasma shot being fired. Simultaneously, Earth's ground stations deployed countermeasures. Not missiles, noise, high-frequency interference, outdated communication bands, and random bursts of encrypted nonsense flooded the airwaves. The Empire's systems couldn't distinguish commands from chaos. Drones spun out of control. Navigation AI began broadcasting weather forecasts. As the fleet struggled to regroup, Earth launched its last gambit, Operation Mirrorball. Hundreds of synchronized platforms projected concentrated beams of light, ion disruption, and reflected energy, disrupting Empire targeting and feeding false data loops. Weapons misfired. Shield systems collapsed under their own calibrations. Dozens of ships turned their guns on phantom enemies. One dreadnought self-destructed after reading its own reflection as hostile. Boarding crews landed in waves, expecting resistance. Instead, they encountered empty bases, misdirection tunnels, and decoys. One unit spent hours chasing a rolling robot that turned out to be a modified vacuum cleaner playing pop music. Another was trapped in a mirrored labyrinth built underground, fed disinformation and looped orders until they surrendered voluntarily. The humans didn't overpower the Empire. They unraveled it. Not with strength, but saturation. Overload. Noise. Every strategy thrown at them was absorbed, bent, and recycled into something more chaotic. The Empire had systems. Humanity had noise. And noise, unchecked, destroys order. As losses mounted, the commanding admiral broadcast a ceasefire. Earth didn't respond. Instead, a signal was sent to every Empire vessel, a simple, low-res video. A human in a lawn chair, sipping a drink, wearing sunglasses, waving. Subtitles read, asterisk. Told you we weren't joking. Asterisk. Empire Command ordered retreat. Half the fleet never made it. The rest limped out, systems fried, captains humiliated, soldiers disoriented. The Empire had suffered defeats before, but never one where their power had been ridiculed at scale. Galaxies watched the footage. Not with horror. With amusement. Earth didn't pursue. No invasions followed. No demands were issued. No formal declaration of victory. Instead, humans returned to their routines, streaming, building, laughing. Their broadcasts became more popular than any official Empire communication. Their culture infected systems faster than their ships ever could. Among distant worlds, resistance movements cited Earth's stand as proof that defiance was possible. Unaligned systems mocked Empire presence. Several member species began withdrawing support. Even internal dissent grew. High officials resigned under pressure, blamed for underestimating a species that had turned warfare into satire. The final classified report admitted what no one wanted to say aloud: the Empire had not been defeated by force. It had been dismantled by irrelevance. Its image had been reduced to a joke. Its technology, once feared, was now DIY material for enthusiastic hobbyists. Its hierarchy had been exposed as fragile. Humanity gained nothing in territory but everything in influence. Their culture, uncontainable, flowed through every channel. Their music was heard in alien bars. Their tactics were studied in clandestine schools. Their memes replaced propaganda in Empire youth forums. They became the ghost in the system, a reminder that structure could collapse under the weight of improvisation. When questioned about future intentions, Earth's only statement was short, asterisk. We didn't want a war. We just didn't like being told what to do. Asterisk. No threats. No bravado. Just a truth the Empire could never suppress. And somewhere, out in the void, new signals began to blink, other species testing boundaries, exploring rebellion, experimenting with chaos. The idea had spread. Earth hadn't just fought back. They'd shown the galaxy a different way to win.